Hi there. Welcome back, or welcome to Recovering Out Loud podcast, the show where we get real about mental health and addiction. I'm so glad you're here. If you or someone you love is struggling with drugs or alcohol, please reach out for help. Send me a message on all social media platforms at Recovering Out Loud Pod or by email at recoveringoutloudpod@gmail.com. You are no longer alone.
Like I was actually just saying, like you'd think with an ego as large as mine, I would actually see it coming. Like I would see when it's affecting me. And I made a joke. It's like a stealth bomber loaded with bad decisions. It just keeps like, you don't even see it. And the next thing you know, like, what am I doing? Like, oh, I'm being run on, letting my defects kind of run the show. And then I'm surprised, like, oh, well, why didn't this work out? It's like, because you weren't like actually paying attention to reality. You're up in your head and you're like, this is all going to work out. I know exactly how this is going to go. And you're like, yeah, you're doing it again. I'm like, oh, okay. So I try to laugh at myself when that happens.
Yeah, me too. It's sort of like projecting this movie, right? We walk around with like movie projectors. This is how it actually is, and then reality's over here, and we're spinning this movie up on the screen. Yeah, and that's the movie. That's what's happening. That's the truth. Right?
Yeah, and it's really not. And like I try to remember that it's like we're given brains for a reason. Like the ability to imagine, to take like observations and then imagine something different. Like, that's worked out pretty well for humanity. Like, like tools, money, the ability to exchange value. Like every piece of technology came from somebody imagining something that didn't exist. And that's great, The problem is that it's the discernment, right? It's the like, okay, so I've got an idea. Okay, well, that's nice. Like, is it making me happy? Is it going to be useful? Which is like, I'm stealing that from some guy on a podcast. I don't remember which one. But, and then like, if it is, maybe stay on that, stay with that thought and see where it goes. But like, for the most part, it's just like scroll to the next thought, like, because like I think of the brain as like an algorithm. You've got these like, and you go on your phone and you see what it's learning, right? So the more time you spend with a thought, the more it tries to make thoughts like that and support that. The more energy you put into a thought, the deeper into that thought you're going to go. And for me, that can be useful, but it can also be really unhealthy. I can just sit with like negative thoughts for a long time. And then have feelings about thoughts. Anyway.
What are the majority of those thoughts recently for you? The negative ones?
I mean, I have a lot of, let's get right into it, I guess.
Tell me your deepest secrets.
Yeah, I'm like, oh boy. I think, so I started drinking when I was 13, give or take. And they say, once you start drinking, at least, and I drank alcoholically probably right from the start because I was in a band when I was 17 and they gave me a shirt, Instant Asshole, just at alcohol. And I remember very clearly, like a bunch of times, my bandmates kind of like not loving drunk Tom. And so when you're drinking like that, you're drinking to avoid the consequences, and like you're not developing as a human being. So emotionally, like I'm probably like, I don't know, 15 years old sometimes, like a lot of times. And so the thoughts I have are a little bit like a 15-year-old boy. Not a little bit, they're identical to a 15-year-old boy. So it's a lot of these things about like girls are scary. Like I want to run up and pull their hair instead of like being like a thoughtful, caring person. the world is scary. It's really hard for me to remember, like, you know what, like, just because you do have a 15-year-old boy's inside of you doesn't mean you can't parent that and like manage those emotions yourself. You can do that. Like, I'm capable. Like, if you were to say, hey, I'm having a bad day, you know, I don't know, like I tore, I've got a huge hole in the back of my jeans right now.
I thought you were joking about that.
No, it's like, it's a thing. And I was like, nobody's going to notice. And I wanted to wear these jeans because these are like, I think I look cool in these jeans, except for, you know, the back where I look like a person that doesn't know that they have a huge hole in their jeans. Anyway, but if you were to call me and say, I can't believe it, I was on a TTC and I had this huge hole in my jeans, I'd be like, oh man, that sucks. You know, like I could probably talk to you and like, you know, in a kind, compassionate way.
Right.
And listen and be like, you know what, you're a good guy, you know? So it's turning that voice to myself and being like, okay, like, you know, but I do have a lot of thoughts about relationships. Like, those are scary. Trying to rebuild my life, like trying to get back into work and my career. Just feeling like, you know, like imposter syndrome is a really common one. Yeah.
I don't deserve this, right?
No,
How did I get here? Like, I don't belong. I don't deserve this. Yeah, I've come up with that from time to time for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get right into it, I guess. What's the what was your sort of childhood like? How did you find alcohol and drugs, and what did they do for you?
Yeah, okay. So like I said, I was really into music. So, you know, I work like I'm in a fellowship, and we go through steps, and one of the steps is an inventory, and I've done that a couple times. And one of the benefits of going through that work is that you start to realize not everybody was out to get you, you know? So when I first went through it, I was like, oh, you know, mom and dad are terrible and they're alcoholics and blah, blah, blah. And that's all true. But one of the things I started to remember is a lot of the good things about my childhood. And one was like, my mom knew that I loved music, and she, like, when I was a kid, I would go up to this like Techniques organ that we had in our house, and I would play along to the music on the radio when I was like 6 years old. So I had that, you know, I had an ear for music, which is just something some people have. And so I was like, I really wanted to be in bands, and I just loved music. So I got into bands because my mom would literally drive me to like Ottawa. I lived in Kempville. She'd drive me to Ottawa to try out for these bands when I was like 15 years old. And she also loaned me the money to buy my first keyboard because I was a keyboard player. I was like the Ross Geller of the band, you know, not like the cool guy. I was like the nerdy guy, like, you know, like, so it's not that, well, whatever. And eventually I got into a couple bands, and then I found one where we were actually in that for a couple years, and we actually like made an album in the studio, kind of like this place in Ottawa. And, it was a big part of my life, but I was also scared out of my mind, you know, because the kids were older. They were like 2-3 years older than me. And I was just like, you know, it's intimidating to play music in front of people. So I started turning to alcohol to do that. And yeah, I remember going to this one like party in a field where there was a bunch of bands like playing, and this one guy that was really cool, and he looked like Axl Rose, and he was literally drinking like a bottle of Jack Daniels, you know, and pouring Coke into it, and, you know, and I was like, I want to be that guy. And that was like one of the reasons I really started drinking a lot. The other reason was, well, I you know, I kind of misspoke there. I heard somebody say like, none of the things that happened to me made me an alcoholic. I am an alcoholic, and these things happened. But when I took those drinks, it was the fact that I'm an alcoholic that really, you know, determined the course of my life, because, you know, we talk about like a mental obsession and a physical allergy, right? But another thing that like wasn't great was when I was a kid. My dad, after he divorced my mom, he got sober. He went into the rooms. He met a woman. She sponsored him, and then she married him. So she 13th stepped him, as they say.
Mm.
And I clocked that. I'm like, that's not cool. But he had also kind of sat me down and said, you know, this, like, now that I'm sober, Dad's back. We're gonna have a great time. And then I remember getting into his sports car that he bought, this IROC.
Yeah.
Like the cheesiest sports car you could buy. And I remember thinking, yeah, this will be really great. I'm going to sit next to my dad and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you got to sit in the back. Like Jackie's sitting in the front.
Mm.
And I just, like, I remember that, like, being so pissed off about that. And so I got dragged to Alateen. I got dragged to all these meetings, and we say, like, attraction rather than promotion. This was like, if this was shoved down my throat.
Yeah.
And I had the quiz given to me of like, are you an alcoholic? And I was like, not ready for that, like, at all. So I resisted it. And yeah. So got kind of a shitty taste in my mouth very early about, like, one, I was drinking, and I was almost drinking at her, of like, you know what, like, I know what'll piss you off the most is if I keep doing this. So I did it. Yeah, but that was high school.
Yeah. And then so you carried on, and what was the moment that you kind of were brought to your knees, or you realized that this wasn't working the way it used to, or, you know, I need help? What was that first moment like?
Well, the first time was actually just a couple years later, and I'd actually did the whole music thing, and then I actually, like, shaved my, I'm actually going to take my toque off, actually, because it's hot in here. So I shaved my head, and I moved. I was all over the place. I like dropped out of high school for a while, and I was like a landscaper, and I was all over the place. But yeah, you know, long story short, I decided to clean up my act and get into a good university, and I did. I got into the Royal Military College of Canada, which is like, it's a full scholarship, and I wanted to be in the Army, and that was all going to be good. And I stopped drinking for a while too. And then to celebrate, we went to the Beef Baron in London, which is a very prestigious establishment. It's got a $10 all you can eat beef sandwich buffet right next to, like, the champagne rooms, right? And so we went there, and then on the way home, I told the guys to pull over so I could punch a guy in the face, and I went to jail. And I remember sitting in that jail cell being like, okay, I just, like, ruined my entire life in like 5 minutes. And luckily, well, I said, that's it, I'm going to quit drinking. And I went to a few meetings, and then they didn't kick me out of the Army. They didn't shut down my scholarship. They sent me off, because they're kind of like real recruiters are kind of like used car salesmen for humans. And they're like, we've already closed that deal. I've already got my commission. Yeah. Like, I'm not reversing it. I don't know. That's not a very nice thing to say. But anyway, long story short, there were no consequences. And so I clocked that, and I was like, you know what? I got this. Yeah. I got this. And so just to, like, I won't take you through my entire life because it's long. But the moment when I actually I didn't get down on my knees, but I was like, God help me. Yeah. I was 49. So probably another 30 years of my life that I spent not being willing. Yeah. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm either going to kill myself or I'm going to go back to AA and try it. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, I think a lot of people need to hear that it's never too late, though, too, right? Like, I've always used to hear that, man, because I came in at 23, and I remember there was, like, I'd go into, you know, you hear all the things like, oh, you know, I don't think anyone's ever directly said this to me, but you know, I've spilt more alcohol than you've drinking, son, right? And I remember somebody in a meeting one time saying, like, I came in young, and let me tell you, I suffered. Like I remember
Yeah.
her saying that, and I suffered. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I belong here. I
Yeah.
qualify to be here because I suffered, and everyone's suffering looks different, right?
Yeah.
That's not to say that you didn't suffer for all those years,
Yeah.
right? But it's like people come in when they come in, and their time is their time, right?
Yeah.
And you can't force it on anybody. Like, did you have people that were sort of pushing? Like, I mean, I guess so. You had your family pushing you in that direction, which
Yeah. I mean, my stepmother left the scene, and actually I turned my back on my family when I was like early 20s. I've lost jobs because of the things I did when I was under the influence of alcohol. I've been to jail a few times. I've been homeless. Like I slept on a yoga mat in a gym that I didn't own. It was funny because a few months earlier I had owned a couple gyms and I had like a nice place, and then next thing you know I'm like sleeping on in a buddy's gym in the back room in the squat rack. You know, and I made a joke, oh, my powerlifting career is going to make a comeback now. I'm so committed.
I'm literally living here.
Yeah, I literally, like, that's not what's going on, Tom. So, you know, just the insanity of like, and the funniest thing too, sorry, I know I'm not answering your question directly, but
good.
the number of times that I would be like at absolute rock, like I'd be at rock bottom, like it'd be like, and I wasn't low enough for me. Like everybody else would maybe say like, this is suffering. Like you're homeless. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what? I got this guy to let me stay in the back of his gym, and like, I've got this. And the amount of confidence that I had at those moments was like that was the highest level of confidence I had. And then as stuff would start to get, like, I'd actually start to put my life back together because I was a functional alcoholic. I don't know if that's actually a thing, but you know, I wouldn't drink till 5 p.m. every night. I would just run on like Red Bull and ignorance until about 4:30, and then I'd be like, oh, my life sucks. Oh, I guess I'll drink. But yeah, I would be like, I got this every single time. And I, you know, I had a buddy too. We served together in the Army. I was in the Army for 10 years, and he always kind of like kept tabs on me from a distance. And I remember one time him picking me up in his truck and loading up all my gym gear and all this other stuff and putting me up in his basement. And the very first thing I did was like find the nearest bar and go get fucked up. And he put up with me for a while, and then he was like, you got to go. Like my wife is like, just, she can't stand having you around. But it was many, many years of a very lonely life. Yeah. And yeah. So
What would you say is the biggest thing that sort of helped you finally stop?
So I'm really stubborn. And that's not, I used to think that was a good quality.
Yeah.
And it can be.
Hardworking. Yeah.
It can be hardworking. Yeah. Banging your head against the walls. Not, okay. So anyway. So the reason that I finally stopped was because I was downtown Toronto. I was living in a condo by myself. It was like a 2-bedroom condo on the 43rd floor. Great view. I had a company, and I had 6 people on my payroll. 5 people, myself included, 6 people on payroll. A couple contractors, and we had like tens of thousands of dollars coming in every month. And I was like looking over the gardener, and I was thinking like I should probably just kill myself because I thought like if I make enough money, if I do this, you know, I'll be happy and this feeling will go away. And I knew I had enough money to keep drinking the level I was drinking for at least a few more years. And I knew every morning I woke up just absolutely terrified, like shaking, and I couldn't sleep. And I was just like, oh my God, like I'm in hell and I don't know what to do. And I was just like, well, maybe I should kill myself. And then I look over and I've got like this dog. You probably heard me talk about the dog, right? Willow. And she's, anyways, Willow's a Shih Tzu. She's like this big. I don't know why I'm putting my hands in front of the microphone. That's not how microphones work. And she's like this big, and she's a princess. Okay. But the one thing, her superpower is she can sense when something's wrong. And she's like up on the couch looking at me as I'm looking back at her, having a smoke and thinking about jumping. And I'm like, I can't leave her. I can't abandon her. Because in my mind, everybody's evil and out to ruin my life, including God. Like, God probably hates me. So if I leave, she'll be defenseless because she's defenseless to begin with. And there'll be nobody to take care of her. And I love her. And then that last thing that I thought was like, I love her. And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, and she loves me. I'm like, well, then maybe there's something worth saving. And I was like, you know what? We could put a pin on the suicide and we could just postpone that 24 hours and we could go to a meeting and see what happens. And if it doesn't work out, we could just come back to the suicide idea. And so I did. And that was like, well, actually, no, it was 2 years, 2 months, and 23 days ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man. Do you remember, I'm sure, well, maybe you do, but do you remember hearing anything at that meeting that kind of kept you wanting to go back?
Honestly, this is kind of bothering me, and it has been, is like, I remember it was a Zoom meeting because I was afraid to leave. I had like agoraphobia. Like I was just afraid of everything.
Yeah.
I was afraid to go outside. So I just went to Zoom meetings, and all I remember is this guy from Georgia who became my temporary sponsor almost immediately and got me through like the first month, but I don't remember the first meeting. Like I don't.
Yeah. I think, and I think a lot of people say that where they're like, I don't remember what was said, but it's more so, and this is, to the point of, to me, it proves the power of community, of recovery community. It doesn't have to be 12-step. I don't care what the fuck it is.
Yeah.
There's a community, right? You need some kind of community in my experience, my opinion. There's an energy in that meeting, that room, that kept me coming back, right?
Yeah.
My first meeting experience was in Minnesota because I went there for treatment. I didn't know anything about 12-step recovery. I didn't know anything about recovery at all.
Yeah.
And they forced me to go. And and all these kids were talking about it. I was 23. They were all younger than me.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, this place is like, it's scary. And there's these old dudes with beards. There was a men's meeting.
Yeah.
It was called like Bad Boys or Mad Dogs or something.
Oh,
okay. It was all biker dudes, like Duck Dynasty to a T.
Oh,
right?
Jesus.
So I'm walking into this place where, the duck line, right? A line of ducks from rehab getting out of their druggy buggy, like walking into the meeting.
Yeah.
And all these dudes are sitting on their Harleys, smoking cigarettes, just looking at us, right? Like I'm like, how did I end up here? Like, how is this going to help me? One. And two, how the fuck did I end up here?
Yeah.
But there was something about it that, attracted me. So, and I don't remember anything that was said in that meeting, but I do remember a bunch of dudes sharing vulnerably.
Yeah.
A bunch of tough looking motherfuckers getting open and talking about things that I felt.
Yeah.
I couldn't be more different than these guys, but I felt that camaraderie of like, I felt that. I felt that. And then that was sort of the spark that was like, I don't know what's going on here, but I need it.
Yeah.
I want it and I need it because the way I was living, not ideal whatsoever. And, me in hotel rooms by myself doing coke all night, not fun anymore.
No. Yeah. It's, oh God. Yeah. Like the thing that I remember Keith, because it was like this bald 60-year-old black guy from Georgia and just the energy off of him, the optimism and the hope and the kindness. I remember that. And I remember him like kind of like, I remember it was a Zoom meeting that it was like his own meeting or something. And I remember going through a few meetings, and I'll be honest, I logged into one and it was like, 3, like, how Zoom meetings can be. I won't even, okay. Yeah. But like, I was like, this is not the meeting for me. This is not the meeting for me. And then I came on and he was like, hey friend, and it was just like, oh
shit.
Okay.
I'm seen.
Yeah. And then, and I like attention. Yeah. So it was nice to be seen.
Yeah.
Um, and then he literally sent me a big book and a 12 and 12, and he signed both of them. Like, not just signed, but put like a whole block. And I still look at that sometimes,
Wow.
And yeah, and it really, yeah, I mean, yeah, so it was,
It saved your life,
yeah, it saved my
essentially.
life. I
Yeah,
mean,
like,
yeah,
in my opinion.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I can
yeah,
say the same thing, right? Like I don't know where I was headed, right? I had thought about not being here anymore. I hadn't really planned it out until my last relapse, and I wouldn't even say planned it out, but honestly, and mine was the same thing. I remember looking. I'm on the 35th floor of my building, and I
yeah,
remember in this last relapse, kind of like sitting on the couch and like just I kind of just like imagined what it would be like to fall. This is going to trigger some people, but just to
mhm,
fall
yeah,
35, and I was like, huh.
yeah,
I've never thought about that before. And that scared the shit out of me.
yeah,
Right? I was like, oh boy, I
yeah,
better, do some more drugs or get out of this. And then, so as we do, you do the more drinking and the more drugs, and it just gets worse and worse and
yeah,
worse. But
yeah,
that
yeah,
scared the shit out of me. Right. What do they say about change? It's when the fear of staying the same is greater than the fear of changing.
yeah.
Right?
That was what kind of drove me. Is I was just like every day is the same, and actually my first 6 months I listened to a lot. I always loved Nine Inch Nails, because I'm like a keyboard guy, and he made keyboards kind of cool almost. But then I realized like a lot of the lyrics, like Somewhat Damaged is a song from Nine Inch Nails, and it's all about like how alcohol is not working anymore. Like it, because it worked for a while, and then I won't try to quote the song, but it's tried so hard to be like you, all alone, and where were you? And it's all about like it got me to this place where I was alone, and it used to feel warm and safe. Like everything else about life was terrifying, and then I'd go home and I'd sit in front of my computer and I'd start drinking, and I'd feel like finally I'm safe. This is my happy place. And then all of a sudden my happy place just became like it wasn't like there'd be a moment, where you'd feel it touch your lips and you're like, oh, everything's going to be fine. And you know that feeling too when you're on your way to the liquor store and you already feel like all your problems have been solved?
Yeah.
It didn't, I don't think it had anything to do with the chemical. It was just this like act of like, I give up, alcohol's in charge, and it's going to solve all my problems. And it really didn't. And yeah, I was just like, I can't. And there was so many times I was like, oh, I've got to stop. And I remember telling my therapist once, yeah, you know what? Like Tuesday, I ordered a meal from Uber Eats, and I only ordered one old fashioned, and I had that drink, and everything was fine. And I went to bed. So I'm like not an alcoholic. And she was like, well, what about the other 6 days of the week? I'm like, well, let's not get into like, come on. Like, why do you have to be so negative,
Settle down.
Yeah. Like this is proof N equals 1, and I'm fine. And that, anyway, I was not fine. Yeah. So
We're really good at forgetting all the bad. It's always like I cut the movie off right when I do the first line, and then I forget about or I'm having that one drink at the bar, and then I leave out the after hours club by myself dancing for 6 hours or whatever the fuck I was doing.
Yeah.
Right? I had a friend of mine, Billy, used to always say, and thank you for bringing that up because I had not thought about that for a while. This anticipation of getting, even though my thing was drugs, your thing was drinking, I can totally relate. And my friend Billy said one time, I used to love just the weight of the 6-pack, like just the weight of it.
Yeah.
And for me, it was just having the Coke in my hand.
Yeah.
Like I just having it in my hand alone. I was like,
yeah.
And then you do it, and it's just all downhill from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How did you untrain that? How did I untrain that? Like I guess my thought with that is, because that has to be unlearned, right? Like you have to unlearn that pattern of good time, alcohol in my hand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Safety, alcohol in my hand. I think for me, it was, I had to replace it with good behaviors, right? Good associations.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. Oh God, I don't want to talk about my 50th birthday because it involves going out on a date that went horribly wrong. and not drinking after. But I remember walking into my house after. I guess I'm going to talk about it. Fuck.
That's why I love you.
All right. So I'm 50 years old. I'm turning 50. I've gotten a year of sobriety, I guess. Yeah, a little bit over a year. Anyway, like not very much. And I've got a job too. Like I got this job as like it was like a fancy job that I thought, like my ego thought, like this is great, making a lot of money. Don't really know what I'm doing. Stressed out all the time. And I met somebody that, she was in my building. She was a lot younger and not in the program or anything like that. And she was like, and we were kind of like friends, but whatever. And she's like, I'm going to take you out for your birthday. And she takes me out for the birthday, and then there was just this thing, oh God, I'm not even going to, basically she was just like, I know you're sober and like, I really want to know more about this because I'm struggling. And I was just like, like the one thing that I did that was probably slightly honorable was I was like, people that are in personal relationships with you really shouldn't be like I can show you where to find like a program, but like, you know, I'm kind of biased here because like we're in a relationship.
Mhm.
And so like you need to find somebody, ideally a woman, that can help you get through this kind of stuff.
Right.
And she kind of got that. And then she went upstairs to the bathroom and she came back down and she's like, yeah, I'm going to go out to the club. See you later. And just like left. And that was the last time I ever spoke to her.
Wow.
And it was my birthday. And I was kind of bummed out because like, you know, I had a lot of expectations about how my birthday was supposed to go and none of them. And I remember coming home and being like, well, this is a pattern that I used to follow, which is like, I tried to like go out in the world and meet someone and be real, and it didn't work out. And then I went home and I drank myself to sleep because poor me. And look, like I tried really hard. And I remember I called like 4 or 5 guys that night because I'm like, yeah, this is a danger zone. Luckily the LCBOs had closed by the time I got home, but you know, I was also at the keg when it happened. So like I was lucky, but yeah, like these patterns of behavior of like feeling sorry for myself and then and then drinking. Yeah. So I still feel sorry for myself all the time. I'm kind of hoping that'll go away one day. But yeah, so yeah.
That was a pivotal moment though for you, right? Like, and I think a lot of us have these moments where it's like, I was very close to relapsing and I didn't because I called 4 guys or I think you answered my question where it's like, well, what do you do instead? I was taught to reach out for help when I'm spiraling. That's not me. I don't normally do that. That's not my fucking default mode. Right?
No.
My default is Band-Aid, quick fix. Quick, whatever.
Yeah. Luckily it was so extreme. And these are the things too, like there's wow, like this is not a good situation. I'm really going to need some help. It's the, you know, you look at the big book, it's like the milk and the whiskey.
Yeah.
It's
so
the little things that can really fuck with you.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I got this. Yeah. So
there's seemingly insignificant problems or plans that you have, right?
Yeah.
I always talk about the ADHD medication thing that and it always stems, in my opinion, my experience, from these rationalizations, these justifications that no, I'm doing the right thing. Anthony, you're good, buddy. Just keep on going on, right?
Yeah.
So
I do feel obliged to report that my 51st birthday was amazing. It was fantastic. Saw Metallica.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah. And I spent time with someone that's pretty important to me, and it's a completely different kind of relationship. So, you know, that was kind of awesome. Yeah, it was a good birthday. Yeah.
What would you say are your daily kind of essentials for recovery to stay sober?
My morning cigarette? No, that's probably not. But the thing is that I do like, all right, no, I get up in the morning And I have a little checklist that I follow because my sponsor gave it to me. And it's just a little mindfulness exercise. It takes like 2 minutes. Just like, what do I see? What do I hear? What do I smell? What do I touch? I'm okay. I put my hand on my chest to say, I'm okay, I'm safe, and I'm loved.
Mm.
And then I just take a moment to like think about that. Am I? I'm like, yeah, I am. I'm good. I'm good today. I take a deep breath, like feel my toes on the ground. And then I deserve a high five. Why? Oh, and also, what am I feeling? How do I feel? I'm like, oh, fuck. Feelings. I remember like my therapist used to always, anyway, sorry, I'll stay on the point. So I'll think about it. I'm like, how am I feeling? I'm like, oh, I feel grateful. Okay, cool. You know, isn't always great. Like sometimes I'll feel sad. I'm like, okay, you feel sad. That's okay. But checking in with my feeling. And then it's like, okay, 3, 7, and 11. It's like, I usually go to a morning meeting, a men's meeting. But even if I don't, I kind of look up and I'm like, all right, what are we doing? I call my higher power Janice sometimes just to fuck with people because I like to piss Christians off. So apologies, I don't want to cause any like, but it's just because like I just like to be an argumentative asshole sometimes and make people go like, what? But I'll be like, yeah, okay, hi, and I'll talk to God for like a minute or two just to be like, yeah, you're in charge, not me. And then I'll usually go through the 3rd step, 7th step, and 11th step prayer, and then I get on with my day. I used to spend like an hour and a half fucking around trying to make sure I was getting my morning routine right, and it would drive me bananas.
It's perfectionism.
Oh
right?
my God.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, look, like let's try to get through this within 20 minutes and get going. Because like I don't want to sit staring at my navel for too long because I'll drive myself fucking batty. And then usually I'll take my dog for a walk and
Get outside.
get outside.
Hold that thought. I have to take a piss.
Sure.
Dude, I've literally pissed like 4 times. I was just thinking as I did that, that beats all the amount of times I used to go to the bathroom for.
Yeah.
The reasons
Oh my
I
God.
used to go to the bathroom for.
Yeah.
Thought no one knew. But yeah, so you do that, you start your day.
Yeah.
What does spirituality mean to you, and how do you like what does that mean?
Oh boy. I actually don't know. I don't know if there's somebody like in charge of the universe or for me, I know that I'm not in charge of the universe. That's pretty important. And also like thinking about like the enormity of the universe, like there's like what, 7, 8 billion, I don't know how many billion people we got now, but there's probably at least a couple. There's a lot of people. So this idea of like somebody up there, like, you know, looking down on a cloud or whatever, and I don't know. Here's a couple things that have really helped me. When I'm really struggling in the morning, a lot of times it's the morning where I'm like, God, like I'm really struggling with this, you know, and like I went to bed and I woke up and it's still on my mind. And like quiet, I just like get quiet, and I've kind of said my prayers, or maybe I can't even wait, and it's just like, okay, listen, what should you do? And then I'll know, like they'll say like, like you're going to be okay, everything's fine. Well, what should I do? And like it will kind of, it's very simple. It'll come to me like, okay, this is what I should do. This is the thing that I should do. And so that voice is very helpful. Also, I mean, I'd be remiss not to like use some sort of weightlifting metaphor at least once in like this talk, because like, I've worked out a couple times. I'm just trying to keep this as much focused on my program and not my own ideas as I can, which is really hard because you're asking me, and I'm like so full of myself, and I love to sound smart. And I think that's the point. It's the path for me to my higher power is through the program that I work. It's through service. It's through connecting with a sponsee. And it's like training wheels for finding like my higher power. It's like, look, if I'm really struggling, I'll go to a meeting and I'll try to listen to the readings, and I'll try maybe just to listen. And then I'll find the things I need to help guide me through the day. Yeah. So I love when people are like, what's who's God and how's that work? I'm like, oh, goody. Let's have like, and it's like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like my philosophy and reading about like consciousness and all, like I study AI for fun. Like I'm not saying that to brag. I'm like, that's how complicated I can make life.
Yeah.
Like I'll use AI to figure out like what's the best restaurant in Toronto when I could just like use Yelp.
Yeah.
Like I overcomplicate every fucking thing. And one thing that helps me is like, when you're trying to drive a car, it really helps to not try to like work on the car at the same time. So if you give yourself over to the care of a higher power and you say like, it's going to care for me, you don't need to like try to figure out what it is while you're asking for care. You can just accept it. And I was listening to these speaker tapes, Joe and Charlie.
Yeah.
And I was going to this meeting on the East Side. This was like a year and a half ago. And they were like, what kind of higher power do you want to have? And I was like, you mean you can have whatever you want? And I'm like, I'd like a kind higher power that loves me and sees that I'm just doing my fucking best. And sometimes it's really scary. And I just want somebody that makes me feel like I'm okay and everything's going to be fine. And they're like, okay, well, boom, there you go. And I asked the higher power, like, what should I do? And they're like, well, you're on the way to a meeting, but you're kind of hangry. Maybe you should stop and get a sandwich. And I stopped at a Subway and got a sandwich. And the guy offered me free bacon. I shit you not. And I was like, there is a God and he wants me to have bacon. So I was just like, I'm in, and that's like, and that worked. And I went to the meeting and I was really happy because like I need carbs to be happy.
Yeah. But it's interesting. It's sort of like, cause I heard it said, higher power is like an inner teacher, right?
Yeah.
An inner teacher where it's like, it's kind of this guiding force for me, but it's also like my consciousness at the same time. Right. And I agree with you 100%. The more I try to figure it out, the worse it is for me. Yeah. And the more stressed I get about it. Mm-hmm. And then the less I listen to it as well and follow the direction that I'm given. I don't need to understand it today. I can make it into this like detective movie, who done it, like yarn, connecting all the people, that's the way I can make it.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you can do the same thing.
Oh God, yeah.
But the more I just kind of acknowledge that it's everywhere, it's everything, it speaks through people. And also I know what the right answer is. Sometimes I just need to listen. And that's why meditation it escapes me, but it's also the most beneficial thing. Yeah. And that's why I love that morning group where for 15 minutes, Anthony, you're going to follow some direction. Just listen to the guided meditation and let life happen. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of times too, like I'll try to just listen to people, but I forgot to do the weightlifting metaphor.
Oh yeah.
And, you talked about the inner teacher. Like the thing is in the gym, like when I go to the gym and I do a bunch of squats, I'm not getting stronger while I'm doing the squats. I'm actually getting weaker. Like I'm breaking down muscle tissue, and those little micro tears are where new proteins can come in, and they can reconstitute the muscle stronger. When I let go and let God, and when I say I don't need to figure it out, I'm letting my brain, when that happens is when you're resting, when you're not squatting, when you go home and you sit on the couch and you watch Netflix. That's when that happens. So when I say I don't understand it, I'm going to sit quietly. I'm going to turn my brain off, and then I'm going to wait. That's the opportunity for God to come in and kind of improve the way my brain works slightly. And that's what I'm noticing. Yeah. Like I turn the brain off, it rests, and then it comes back, and it's like, I got a great idea. Why don't you just do your dishes? And while you're doing your dishes, just actually pay attention to the dishes. I'm like, oh, well, that won't solve all my problems. No, but it will solve one. Like your dishes will be done, and you won't get in shit when the dishes are not. Okay, I'm not even.
I love that though. Yeah, I know it's true. And then in the process of doing it, you're just like you're not thinking about one more problem.
Oh no.
Right?
Yeah. Because I've had it pointed out to me by somebody who actually cares about me, although I can understand why that can be frustrating sometimes. I'm very sorry if you're okay. Anyways, like sometimes I'm 8 problems ahead and I'm not really paying attention, and the spoons aren't actually going to get cleaned if they're all jammed in the front of the dishwasher. That doesn't work. So taking the time to do things properly. But I really want to use a metaphor from computer science.
Please.
What?
Yeah. I love metaphors.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in computer science, there's 2 ways to store sets of data fundamentally. And one's called an array and the other's called a linked list. An array is when you set aside a certain amount of memory. You say okay, I got 10 variables. I'm going to set aside 10 places, and they're all going to have a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we're going to put information, whether that's the provinces of the capitals of the provinces of Canada. You store them, you put them in an array. And I really hope I can pull this metaphor off. We'll see. A linked list is literally I have a thing, and I'm going to put in information in that thing, and then I have a link to the next thing. And a linked list, you can build an infinitely long list with a linked list. And
sort of like branches to
a tree. Yeah. It's then there's a tree, but okay, let's not do a tree. So for me, sometimes when I start in the day, my brain is an array. It's got I've filled the whole brain with all these ideas, and then I've got this list of the numbers to find all the different information. And the problem with arrays is that they take up a lot of space and they're computationally intensive to work through. So if you can put it into a linked list, and my point is, a linked list is what's the next right thing? Next right thing is do the dishes. What are you going to do after that? I don't know. Maybe I'll call my sponsor. Okay. So let's go to the next thing. Boop. We're doing that. And the thing after that, yeah, sure. Maybe you want to remember that what the next thing is after. Fine. It's the next thing. Everything after that will be revealed. And that's the most efficient. If you actually look at computer science, fundamentally, the most efficient way to store information is in linked lists. It's just one thing at a time. What's the next thing? Boop. Now we're at the next thing. Now we're at the next thing. And everything more complicated than that, I try to avoid because then my brain just starts to heat up. Yeah. And
I love that, man. It's I'm not going to think about the next thing until I'm done said thing.
Yeah.
Right. And once I'm done said thing, then I can start thinking about what's next.
Yeah.
I can really, thank you. I can benefit from that. I think a lot of people can benefit from that though. And the way you're describing, what was the first one called again?
An array.
Array. The way you're describing an array to me looks like that large, spacious graph of so many. Where do I start? There's a million things on my wall right now.
Then it's overwhelm.
Yeah.
And overwhelm is just a sign of fear.
Yeah.
So I try to avoid the array.
And, I think a lot of men would argue this, but I think it's been proven that we cannot multitask at all efficient. Humans, they can't multitask, right?
Yeah.
You're someone listening is like, I could do fucking 2 things at once, right?
Yeah.
But to my point is I can't do 2 things the same way with the resolve, with the intention, with the
Yeah.
the same way I can do that one thing really well. Right?
Yeah.
It's better to do one thing really well than 10 things moderately or not well at all.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing about that is that, okay, well, in computer science too, like this is called overclocking and multiprocessor. So in multiprocessing, you can have a multiprocessor that's like multiple things happening at the same time, but the operating system you need to actually set that up is incredibly complicated. And when you're multiprocessing, you actually end up burning more resources than if you just had 4 computers that were each doing one of those processes. So like, it's not efficient. And the thing I notice when I'm just like, I'm doing the dishes and then I'm doing the next thing, is that I'm calm and relaxed throughout the day, which is a lie. I get crazy no matter what, but I'm calmer. And Bill Murray said, like, there's not a lot of things you can't do that you can't do better when you're relaxed. And I try, it's really hard. I struggle all the time, but if I can be relaxed, then I do a better job of the dishes. I can program a computer more effectively. I can have a conversation with the human more effectively. And when I get done, I don't feel tired. And so, yeah, for me, like, I love caffeine and I love the rush of like, I'm getting so much shit done. Like, I love it and I still do it. But when I notice that that's a struggle for me, I try to go, okay, like, how do I slow down? You know?
And it's so important too. It leads into the beautiful one day at a time mantra that I, have it on my bracelet. Sometimes I forget to look at it, but it's like, tomorrow is none of my concern. It doesn't even exist, right? All I have is today, and people hate hearing that. I hated hearing it. I still hate hearing it, but it's true. Like, what am I doing today for my recovery? Yesterday's recovery is not going to keep me sober today. What am I doing today?
Yesterday, today, and tomorrow, which is...
I love that reading.
And I really have to put this huge disclaimer on this of like, I am so full of shit right now. Like, I'm always like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. It's all going to work out and I'm going to win. And it's like, yeah, that's my default and it's always going to be there. And like, I get into that and I'm like, oh God, I'm doing it again. The difference is I used to see that and I would beat the shit out of myself for having done that. And now I'm like, and I still do beat the shit out of myself. Like, I am nowhere near perfect. Like, anybody that knows me knows, like, there's the Tom that talks about his program and then there's the Tom actually working his fucking program. And those are two completely different people. But the one thing I'm trying to do is laugh at myself. And like the people around me that I really respect and I reach to when I'm struggling or just like I like spending time with, they make fun of me. And I like that, like in a joking, loving way, because I need to make fun of myself because I am crazy and the program helps me stay sane. But like, it's okay that I'm crazy, like you can laugh, you got to laugh at yourself.
I heard someone once say in a meeting that they could tell how good their program was, how strong their program was by how much they were able to not take themselves so seriously. How much they were able to just laugh at themselves. Right. It's important, man, because when you take things too seriously, you drive yourself into the ground and then you end up drinking again eventually. Right. Maybe not right away. You're on the way. Right.
Yeah, and it's funny too because like I used to like quote like I'd have a bunch of like army sayings and shit. Like I was like the worst soldier ever. Like, like well that's a little harsh. But I have no business walking around being like slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Just like in the teams. Like I'm like shut the fuck up. But God, what was I totally forgot what I was gonna say now. See, so like, yeah, I'm totally in like bullshit territory.
Ego, yeah, no.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. So, one of the things like that I did here, because I actually got to hang out with some guys that were pretty good soldiers, and they'd be like, like not a lot of shit's worth getting stressed out for. This is just a Tuesday, and you hear this in a lot of different professions. Where people have experience and they're also like really fucking good at what they do, is they're unflappable. Like shit will happen and they'll just be like, yeah, this isn't that bad. It's really not that bad.
Rolling with the punches.
Yeah. And being able to like that perspective of like, this isn't really that bad allows you to stay calm and actually make good decisions. And that is something I saw with guys that were really good at being in the Army was they were calm no matter what, you know?
Grace under pressure.
Yeah. They weren't like, yeah, let's kick the door in. And like, nah, no, that was more me. I was just like,
I think it's the difference between acting in emotion and acting in logic too, right? Like sometimes it's when I act in emotion, you know, I'm getting punched, right? Eventually I'm getting punched out.
Yeah.
Someone's getting hurt and it's probably going to be me. It always, actually, I'm always getting hurt emotionally or physically. I think I'm going to hurt the other guy more, but I end up being hurt just as much or if not worse, right?
Yeah.
Let's end with this. If you could go back and say something to your active addicted self, what would you say?
Go to a meeting. Yeah, I would say, you know, God. I would say it's okay that you give a shit and that you care so much about this and everything around you, because that was the problem. It wasn't that I didn't care about people. It was that I felt like I would, every time somebody would hurt me or something wouldn't go the way I wanted, I really cared about the things that I did, and then they wouldn't work out the way I wanted, and I would get angry. There's nothing wrong with caring about your life and wanting to help people, because a lot of times I really wanted to just help people. What do you do with those emotions when things don't go the way you thought they should go? How do you find the stoicism of like letting go? And that I was always looking for an instruction manual to life, and that manual is the big book. That was the answer for me of how do I keep caring about people? How do I keep showing up without having my heart ripped out and without feeling like this anger and this self-centered fear all the time? And I just had to read the fucking book. So but that passed, page 125, I think I might know that because that came up yesterday. Like all of the suffering that we went through becomes our greatest strength. So I don't know, I guess like it's nice to say, yeah, maybe I'd go back in time and fix things, but like, I don't know if I'd really want that kind of responsibility. Yeah.
Love it. Thanks so much, Tom. I appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks, man.
Oh, good job.
Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. Please help us grow the channel and like, share, and subscribe for more content. The discussions and stories shared on this podcast are for informational and motivational purposes only. This content is not a substitute for professional medical advice, addiction treatment, or therapy. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please consult a licensed physician, addiction specialist, or mental health professional. You are no longer alone.